It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Marquardt takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. Well, good day. It's Brent Adams here with Steve Marquardt for Fort Worth Musical Moments. We've got a special guest here with us, Kurt Ryle from the studios of Clarksville Creative Sound, Clarksville, Tennessee. And we've got a couple other guests coming on. Thank you to everybody who's checking in here. We're a little bit late getting going here. The technical gremlins got us a bit as well as scheduling, but better late than never, Steve. Hey, after a week off, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Brent. I'm glad to be back in Texas. We beat the hot weather up in New Mexico. By the time we got back, it cooled off here, so we're grateful for that. But glad to be back in Texas and back in the swing of things and getting ready for a real busy October.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got the CMA of Texas Awards coming up in a couple of weeks. We got the Josie Awards back in Nashville coming up. Then we've got the birthplace of Western Swing Festival coming up here in Fort Worth. And I know you were just delving into some of those details yesterday.
I can tell you one thing, Clarksville Creative Sound and our artists on our roster are all over all of the events that you just mentioned. We've got several of us are getting awards at the CMA of Texas event, and I understand we've got a really good MC that's going to kind of host that whole thing. So looking forward to seeing you up there doing your thing as well, Brent, and getting with you down in Houston. And then I may be taking a flight directly from Houston up to Tennessee to partake in the Josie Awards there, which Kurt can tell you we've got a good number of people up for awards at the Josies, and we've got events going on with the TV network, the American Country Network. We're going to get together with those folks and kind of have a little reception and meet up with Tommy Snyder and let Tommy meet some of our artists because that TV network is going to put a special emphasis on independent artists and independent artist music, which we're real grateful for and cannot be more excited about.
Yeah, there's a huge buzz right now, and it's just going to continue to build through the rest of 2023 and into 2024. And Kurt, I know you've been busy down there in Clarksville, Tennessee, cranking out some great music, including an artist who, through kind of divine means, showed up on your doorstep and really has provided an interesting spark.
I think this might be the most interesting artist I've ever met, Brent and Steve. And by the way, talking about the Josie Awards really quick, I just want to let you know, all but 4 of our artists are up for awards. And I think We've got 12 or 13 artists. So, and some of the artists are up for multiple awards. Jaden Riley's up for like 5 or 6. Braden Riles up for 5 or 6. Mackenzie McKetty's up for 5 or 6. So we're represented very well at the Grand Ole Opry this year with the Josie Awards. So, but getting back to the artist you're talking about, I can't wait for you guys to meet her. I told Steve I didn't, this girl, when she called me on the phone, I had a real preconceived notion about her. I don't know why, but she doesn't have an accent. She's not from this country. She was born in Africa. And she moved here when she was 10 years old. And I'm going to bring her on here and let you guys meet her. But when I first talked to her on the phone, her accent was just nondescript. I couldn't make out what state she was from. I was thinking she was American because her English is very, very good. But let's bring her on the set right now. CC Manuela. Come on, CC, have a seat. CC, this is Steve. This is Brent.
Hi,
Absolutely.
nice to meet you.
Isn't she beautiful?
Great to put a pretty face to a pretty name.
She even makes me look good, doesn't she?
Yeah, Kurt, you can just bring her front center. You get out of the picture. We just,
I knew he was going to say that. That's why I wanted him to see you. Yeah, guys, this is a fascinating story how we actually met. CC, I want you to just take this because her husband kind of dabbles in different jobs and things. He has a career, but he also does some Ubering. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And this is how this started, right? So explain to them how we met.
Well, he received a tip from an artist you had worked with, and he
Songwriter.
wrote, yeah, a passenger, and he wrote the information and he handed it to me on a piece of paper, and it sat on the counter for weeks, maybe months, and I almost put it in the garbage, and I picked it back up. I put bottles and diapers on it. I forgot about it till one day I needed a producer to make a demo. And all I knew about Kurt at the time was he plays guitar or he's a producer. That's it. So I woke up that morning and I wanted to get some firewood for the family. So I dressed really ugly.
She looked like she was going fishing. She had this fishing hat on too, and it was she comes walking in, and I'm thinking, okay, this girl is obviously lost. She's looking for the fishing hole.
No, there's a biblical thing there about the fishing thing. So anyway,
You're right.
Yeah, I have my fishing hat on, but my shirt got stained because I was picking up these wood pieces, so I look like a homeless person. And I thought I have nothing important going on today. I've met amateurs, producers, and I thought he just plays guitar. And he told me he was home, so I thought I'm gonna get my wood, stop by really quick, and go home. And that's all I knew. He was a guitar player, so I wasn't expecting much at all.
And you didn't get
And you weren't disappointed, were you?
Thanks a lot, man. Leave it to my friends, right?
I came in and I saw the gold and multi-platinum records and the studio, and I was like, "You're not a guitar player. Who are you?"
well, he's a really good guitar player, but he's an even better producer.
Much more than that.
You know, CC. It's funny because I kind of came across Kurt the same way. It was one of those weird cryptic things. But I was actually in the men's room, and there on the wall there was "For a Good Time" called Kurt Ryle. No.
Oh
boy.
I apologize for my friends. I love you, Steve.
So I called him.
So I called you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry about that.
Actually, when CC came in and she told me that she was wanting to do some stuff, I'll be honest with you. She started talking, and it was real obvious to me that she has a real sweet spirit, and she's a very devout Christian. And I immediately just fell in love with her spirit, and I could just feel the presence of God with her. And so, we basically, the more she talked, the more I felt like it was kind of being laid on me, you got to work with this girl. And I really kind of felt a spirit pulling me into that. And so Satan tried to rear his ugly head a few times, and I told her, I said, I'm gonna record some stuff on you. I said, we'll do it slowly, and we'll just do a song here and there, and I'll throw a song at you, give you a recording. And she said, well, what's it going to cost? I said, well, it's not going to cost you anything, because I kind of feel like I'm being led to do this, and I don't feel that way very often. It's so, I didn't even know she had talent because I hadn't heard her sing yet. So, but I felt like God brought her here, and I felt like that it was a divine thing. And so, whenever she played me a song that she had written, and I started putting the guitar down on it. And when she walked in there and started singing, guys, I mean, it was angelic. I've not heard anything quite like that. And so I mixed it down and sent it to you guys and let you hear it. And definitely got your stamp of approval too. So,
well, the song "My Jesus Lives." Tell us where that whole song came from.
Well, originally I called it Jehovah Nissi, but we had a title disagreement, so I changed it to "My Jesus Lives." But the idea of the song is that the Lord is my banner, pretty much, and it comes from 5 years of baptism by fire. Because I first came to really having a true relationship with the Lord about 6 years ago. Even though I had grown up in church, I didn't know people could talk to God, and he talked back and stuff. So I didn't really know him. And I had a big encounter 6 years ago, and I gave my life to him. And I told him if he'll work with me and do whatever it takes, I would declare his name to the nations wherever he takes me. And I dated it, and I signed it, and I framed it on this huge poster, and it's hanging up on my parents' living room. And God heard me, and he was like, let's get to work. And the next 5 years was hell. It was back to back trial, just child of God, character building situations, back to back to back. At some point, I thought, if this is Christianity, I went off the ride.
Right.
But at the end of it, I came to understand that even if everyone gives up on me and abandons me, that you are still faithful and loyal. And I said, it's okay. I don't even need, to take your name to the nations. If you don't want a career from me and it's just me and you, that's fine. That's enough, because you're the only one who's faithful. But he got me through so much, and I wrote my first song in 5 years, 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And it started with the chorus, "My Jesus lives," and I went and I started putting words to it. And I thought, I don't want to ask him anything or even tell him my problems, because he knows it all. And he just wants us to know that the battle is his, and that we already have the victory. And I just tried to pen that down as much as I could. And I was coming to demo it because I was writing for these big Christian artists, and that's originally who I was intending to present for one of them to sing. And then Kurt told me, you need to be singing this yourself.
Yeah.
So we went to record it, and it sounds like people are liking it.
Right.
That's
Wow.
been very humbling.
I tell you what, we've got it here, and I want to share it with everybody so they've got a framework for the rest of this discussion. After we come back, I want to we kind of put the cart before the horse here, because I want to find out more about your story and how you got not just through that 6-year journey, but everything leading up to that to get you where you are today, because I think there's a lot there to unpack. So let me share this with you here. Bear with us.
Let me,
yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Brent, let me just clarify something, and Kurt, perhaps it's best that you do it. This particular version of this song is kind of an unplugged version, right?
It is. We basically, what I wanted to do was just put a couple of guitars down and get her vocal on there, and she breezed right through these vocals. Really, the only problem we really had was just working with her enunciation, because she's English was not her first language, even though she speaks it obviously very well. She still would have little things she would say, and so we worked on the enunciation so that everybody would be able to understand every word. And boy, she knocked that out really quick. And then we just I didn't want to stop because it was so fun. And so I said, well, let's put some harmony to it. And we just kept adding and adding and adding. And she stacked about, I don't know, 8 or 10 vocals, just stacking these beautiful vocals. And we were kind of working them out together. And so the only thing we have to do is bring the band in and do a production on this thing. Although I'm pretty happy with it just like it is. So we may have 2 versions, an unplugged and a production.
That's excellent. Great. Well, I'm excited for everybody to hear this. This is just audio only. There's no video. So you may see a black screen on that. Don't adjust your computer monitor or your phone here. That's just what it is here. But the vocals speak for themselves. We're going to share it now.
The Lord is my banner, hallelujah. The Lord is the anthem that I sing. The mighty man of battle, the Lord is his name. All of they that wait upon our God have victory. My Jesus lives. My Jesus angel of our Lord surrounds his saints. His glory and the light arise on them. The greatest love bestowed is to be called his. All of they that call upon his name shall be saved. My Jesus lives. My Jesus lives. My Jesus lives. My Jesus lives. Oh, he's won the victory. He changes not. He slumbers not. Pour out your spirit, Lord, and pull out what you place. Begin healing, and all the world can be a banner in the hearts across the earth. Return the hearts, restore the homes. Your perfect will be done on earth as in heaven. When many tribulations come around this way, the gates of hell and all it has to hold, amongst all of the chaos in the dark of night, all of they who know the King of Kings on the throne say, my Jesus lives. My Jesus lives. My Jesus lives. Oh, he's won the victory.
Wow. So much wow.
And that was CC Manuela and the CC choir backing her up here. And Kurt, you were 100% right here. When you've got a voice like that, you don't give those songs away. You lift that praise up yourself. That was amazing. Great job.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Goosebumps.
I think somebody had told her from a publishing company, like a local, somebody here had told her that they wanted her to write for their artists. And when I heard her sing, I was like, no, you need to be the artist. You are the artist. And I think we came to an agreement on that real quick.
Yeah.
The name of the song originally was what now?
Jehovah Nissi.
Jehovah Nissi, which I don't know what that all is, but all I know is it says my Jesus lives many, many times. I said, I think we should name it My Jesus Lives, because everybody's going to hear that over and over, and it's like a sing-along thing. And whenever they're looking for the song on YouTube, they're never going to think to type in my Jehovah whatever. So that's how we ended up agreeing on the title, and I think it was a good move.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
tell
you
us
want the
about
message to be your message
Right.
to be as clear and concise as possible, to get it out to as many people as possible. But there's no mistaking what that song is about, and it's your spirit, which I can see just even through the video. A beautiful spirit, it shines through, especially in your singing. It would have been a shame to not have your voice on that song. My gosh.
Right. So rewind it for us here. Tell us a bit that, Kurt was mentioning you're not originally from America. Take us from the beginning here. Tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are now here.
Oh man.
A little loaded question, I understand, but
I was born in Cameroon, so it's on the west coast of Africa. I grew up like a couple hours from the ocean, and I never knew because I didn't even really see a map. So it wasn't until I came here and I realized I was so close to the ocean the whole time.
Wow.
Because I love the ocean. So when I was 10, my entire family moved to the States and we settled in Maryland. And for the next 10 years, I went to school there and I learned English because French was my first language. And then at 20, I had this dream one night of this person I had never met before. And I moved to North Dakota for school and I meet this individual there. And the Lord tells me that's your husband at that moment. So I start telling my friends and family I've met my spouse, and they tell me, have you been dating long? No. Are you engaged? No. Has he proposed? Does he even like you? No. But that's my
That's crazy.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And then we saw each other again 2 months later, and we started dating right away. And he proposed within like 2 weeks, and we've been together 8 years.
Wow.
But that from Minot, we moved to Maryland and we got married there. And then we moved to Pennsylvania. And that was my first introduction to contemporary Christian music because I grew up in a church where we only sang hymns.
Right.
And I wasn't even aware that there's a modern Christian music world out there. Not from the radio, not from friends. I wasn't aware of it till I went to this Bible college in Pennsylvania, and they had chapel, and people perform, and there were bands, and people were standing and moving while singing to God, and it was modern song. It wasn't just Amazing Grace and this.
Right.
Yeah. So my mind was blown, and I thought, this exists. I have got to be a part of this somehow. So that was my first introduction 6 years ago.
Who were some of the artists that it really influenced you, that really stuck with you?
Well, my husband took me to see Michael W. Smith. He actually came to perform at the school, the Bible college, and he was one of my first introduction to the modern Christian music world. And I was so mesmerized. He is such a genius and so gifted. And I was blown away. Now, ever since I've had new music influences in Christian and secular, both. But he was definitely one of the first. I learned a lot from his walk and his writing, his stories. And we built it from there. And I believe now I was going to school for education. And one day they gave us an assignment to use our gifts for God. And I wasn't really much of a singer at the time, but I knew it was in me because my dad sings. I come from a musical family. And I decided to write a song, and I turned that in for my assignment. And my professor was really impressed with it. And then I was presented to the president of my college, and he was the first to really tell me, this is your calling. And he said, you really need to listen to me. I believe this is your calling from God, and this is what you need to be doing. So that was the president of my college, and I started hearing that again and again, and God confirmed it in my spirit. So then I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to be a Christian artist. I'm going to go and make it happen. And then I went and I recorded some songs, and it got nowhere. And now I was thinking, this isn't going well. Maybe I heard wrong. And it's like the Lord told me, when you're ready, we can get started. And I thought, what? I have started. I have produced the songs and released it. You haven't been doing your part. I feel like I'm out here on my own. Why is everything shut? Because there just wasn't success with it, and I thought you said that was my calling, and here he's telling me when you're ready we can get started. So then I stopped because I was sending the song to a Christian label, and they would keep telling me it's not there yet, it's not there yet. So I paused and I was like, so what are we doing? Do you want me to focus on songwriting or maybe instrument playing? And the Lord just had me pause with the music completely. And for the first 5 years, the next 5 years, there wasn't even any music involved at all.
Wow.
And like I said, it was baptism by fire. It was just one of the first big trials was that I got pregnant with my first son, and I had a rare sickness that less than 1% of pregnant women in the world get. And I was given a death sentence, and my son was given a death sentence. And I was so sick, I was throwing up like 30 times a day. Lights made me throw up, walking made me throw up, food made me throw up, water. So I really had to pause. And in fact, I camped outside because even being in the house, I would just throw up like a sink.
Wow.
And I couldn't go to studio anymore. I couldn't write. That was when I had one of the first powerful encounters with him because I was so sick. They wanted me to abort. They were really concerned. I was losing weight so quick, and they didn't think he would make it, and they thought I might not make it. And 14th week, I remember I was laying on the bed and my husband was by my bedside holding my hand, and I was throwing up so much. I was coming in and out of consciousness, and I said, let's just give the baby to God, let's him take the child, and me, let's just surrender it to him. If all else fails, he's king of the universe. But this is me not really knowing, having a strong relationship with God at this point, even though I grew up in the church. And that was one of the first times that I really strongly heard him. And he just gave us his seal of protection. And I knew from that moment that no matter what happened, the baby and I will be fine. And after that, they would tell me anytime they mentioned abortion, I said, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. And it was a very difficult pregnancy. I remember when I was 8 months pregnant, I fell down the stairs, and on our way to the emergency room, somebody ran into us on the highway. We almost fell into a ditch, and they wanted to call should I get an ambulance for you? And we told them we were already headed to the emergency room. So we drove there, but it was a lot. And then delivery was very difficult too because it just wasn't progressing, and his heart started failing, and they told me we need to operate or this baby may die. And we weren't scheduled for a C-section, but if you know the backstory, a lot of people had dreams of me dying at an operating table, but we weren't worried about those dreams because I wasn't even set for an operation. But here our doctors, you need an operation or we don't think your baby's going to make it. And that just scared the living out of my husband. I've never seen him so scared in his life. And we prayed and we gave it to the Lord, and the surgery was a success. And you've met Michael. And Michael was born. He did have a cord wrapped around his neck twice, but he was very healthy. He surpassed all the expectations, very healthy. So that was one of my first powerful realization that even when the medical field gives me or my child a death sentence, God is still greater, and God can still make a way. And so throughout the next 5 years, it was just situations after situations, and he just pulled me out of it. And I got to the conclusion of the matter, and I decided that God is faithful and loyal, and he's the most sovereign, powerful being in the universe, and he's worthy of all our praise and honor. And I told him, if I heard wrong, because he didn't mention the music again this whole time, so I'm here thinking maybe I heard wrong or he changed his mind. And I told the Lord, if it's just me and you, and no, that's fine. If you change your mind, or I heard wrong, if that was an angel, or I heard, I don't know, it's fine. It can just be me and you.
You can see why when she came in here and I heard all this
Yeah.
stuff, when CC starts speaking, it's pretty obvious that she was not here by chance or
Right.
God brought her here, and I felt that immediately. And so, I feel like that. Sometimes he works in strange ways, and he wants us to be with the right people. We try to do it on our own, and we always screw it up because we go out there and we're like, okay, I'm going to get in a hurry and do it this way, and we really should wait until he tells us what to do. But I felt immediately when she started talking that this is something I needed to do. And when I got her in front of that microphone, I mean, the rest is history. The girl is an amazing singer. And guys, just so you really know, she's really never been in a professional studio with a producer ever. And when she started singing this stuff and all this stuff started coming out, it was amazing. To me, it was just, I knew, this is divine.
So I have to know, did you ever have a vision of a man wearing a red wig?
What? A clown?
You could say that.
He's going somewhere with this. I'm telling you.
I'm just okay. Good. I just had to ask.
You'll see it before this day is over.
No, probably not today. Today's probably not the day.
I need to make an observation here because I'm listening to you, CC, and I've been through a lot of things in my life as well, and I grew up in the church, grew up with knowledge of God, knowledge of I knew just enough about the Bible to be dangerous, and could quote certain scriptures and things like that. So I knew and I believed in God, but I had no clue that there was a big difference between faith versus access to God. In other words, the kind of relationship you're talking about, and I sense that you've got a very clear channel to God. And so when I want to ask you, when you get directions from God, are they that? I mean, do you actually hear Him speak, or is it more of a feeling that moves you in a direction? How is that for you?
Well, that's very interesting because the church I grew up in, they didn't really teach much on spiritual gifts. So I didn't even think they existed anymore. And I would go to them and the ministers, and I would tell them somehow, because growing up, I would, get up one morning and just be excited. And I'd tell my family something good's going to happen today. And later that day or the following, it would. But it's never been anything on a global scale ever. But throughout my life, or I would start grieving something, and sometimes it would be clear, and it's related with this person. And I would tell my ministers, I have this knowing of things before they happen. I don't do anything. And they would tell me it's in your head. It does the gift of the spirits. They're done away with. It doesn't exist. But it just kept happening. But when I came to start having a relationship with the Lord, and it wasn't religion anymore, it started being more detailed. And I started sharing with my husband, I would know certain things before they came to pass. But actually in July of this, so I guess to answer your question, how does He speak to me? I first had to go to counseling to confirm that it's even Him speaking to me, because I went to a different church and I met with the pastor that day, and I told him, from what I understand of God now, I think He's speaking to me, and I think it's dealing potentially with the prophetic, but I was told this doesn't exist anymore. Could you please explain this to me? I'm really confused. And he helped me to understand that God still speaks to us to this day, and the gifts of the spirits are very active. And he gave me a very powerful warning that the enemy tries to mimic God, and he will try to sound like Him. And you have to get to know because Jesus said, my shepherds know my voice. And he told me, you need to familiarize yourself with the shepherd's voice, because the enemy will come there and try to mimic him. And I have found that to be true. And by that, I've been able to distinguish. So when God speaks to me, he puts it in me as if it's already happened. So, and this
So
will,
you see it. You just see it more than speak it.
it's like a feeling. So when we had a close family member pass away, and 5 days before it, I was just in my spirit and knowing that a family member was gonna pass, and I started grieving, and no one had died, nothing. So he speaks to me. I think as his children, we all hear from him. But I found out through my pastor that I've been operating in the prophetic too. And he told me the fact that you dreamt of your husband and you knew he was your husband the day you met, and he told me, you've been operating in this, and I think it's just going to get stronger, and lean into that. So I think he speaks to all of us on a day-to-day basis. But for me, I find that he also tells me things to come, and I found out that that's a part of the prophetic, really. And he
I
puts
think
it
there.
happen.
Yeah, there. You know, God is the one constant that never changes, as far as I know. He's always been there, and he will always be there. And he's just, you know, like you said, yeah, of course he speaks to us today as much as he did back in the, you know, the days that the Bible was written and before that. But the problem, I think, the problem we have today is there's so much interference, much more interference through media, through influences that aren't good, but we want it. We label them as good, you know, and I can tell you a lot about, you know, you said that I can't remember how you just put it, but you said there are forces out there that mimic God's voice and trick you into thinking it's him. I can sure write enough volumes on that. I call some of my relationships God's will number one, God's will, you know, past relations that I never should have gotten into. But it's God's will. The next thing you know, no, that was the ego talking. That was, you know. And so,
I'll tell you something else that's interesting. That CC, you know, she's got friends in the music business, and a hit songwriter, and she's friends with a guy at a church who's got some dub awards for producing Christian artists. And it was funny because I remember Cece telling me that this one songwriter, she said she wanted to write with hit songwriters. And I'm paraphrasing Cece, but I think basically what he said was that, well, it doesn't work like that. You have to start here and then you have to work your way up. Am I right?
Yeah.
Cece? And then
it's going to take a while, in a couple of years.
Yeah, in a couple of years, you'll get to a level where
that was 2 months ago.
She was telling me about it, and I'm like, no, that's not accurate. I said, you know, if God wants this to happen, I said, as a matter of fact, we're going to write a song, and we wrote a song. And we wrote one, and in fact, it's going to be the next song we record on her. So
there's a saying that I've heard and that I like a lot, and it is, you know, God gives us what we need exactly when we need it, when he wants us to use it. In other words, God doesn't, what do they say? God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, if he wants you to do something, he already got it in you that you can do that, you know. And it's like when I'm really earnestly asking, praying for something, you know, it's done. I just have to claim it. I have to have, that's where faith comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
but you know, CC, I sense we'll and we can go all day on this subject. It's fascinating to me, but I sense that because maybe of the way you were brought up, you kind of intimated from your first 10 years living in Africa that you were kind of lived in a small world, a sheltered life, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't exposed to a lot of, certainly a lot of the cultural things that we are exposed to here in the United States, and you moved over here. Do you think that the lack of exposure to all those influences might have enhanced your relationship and your ability to hear God more clearly without having all that interference in your head?
So when I came, because French is my first language, so there was a language barrier, and because of it, my parents weren't really able to be so proactive into controlling our environment. And so what ended up happening is what we were learning at schools and what our friends were doing. They didn't really have much control of it. So we were really on our own in that sense to teach, because we come from this small third world country and we're in the biggest country in the world all of a sudden. And there's all the toys you can think of and all the distractions and all the tools. I was like, what is this? And then in the public school system, you get introduced to a lot through friends. So I did go through that phase, but even then, I believe this is because my father makes time for God. He had us pray every night. I didn't know God could speak to you one on one, but I knew we could pray to him, and I did it because and I believe because of that, he did have a hedge of protection, because he did protect me from a lot, because there were some in the public school system. That's where I went. The kids there, their lifestyle is, you meet all kind of people, and some of them would try to gear me toward certain lifestyle, but even then God's hand of protection was on me, and I would feel convictions in my spirit that I don't know why, but this doesn't feel right. And uh, other than just speaking to me in my spirit, God speaks to me through his word, the Bible. He speaks to me through sermons, men and women of God. He speaks to me through, and that's not just pastors and ministers, like any of his children. I've heard from God through Kurt before. So through his children, through the Bible directly, there's many, through conviction with the Holy Spirit. So in that time, a lot of conviction protected me from, because the kids around me were involved in, it was definitely the drugs and the alcohol and all that, but he really shielded me from a lot. Some in my spirit, I just felt it wasn't right. My parents did tell me it was wrong, but certain things they weren't even aware of. And then the internet was a whole other world of danger, because we didn't have that growing up. And that was, again, the Spirit of God really just teaching me, this isn't right. And anytime I'd be tempted to be on something that was wrong, I would just have this knowing that for some reason it's wrong and I shouldn't be. And as I got to know him and my relationship with him grew, everything became so much more clear. And he taught me that there are 5 voices, that all of us have a decision to make, and we need to establish who is king of our heart. And in order of loudness, I think symptoms. So if you're sick, for example, you're told, I don't know, cancer, COVID, certain amount of time left. The symptoms, the coughing, the blood, the fever, it'll tell you you're sick. And the devil is so symptom is the first. The devil is the second voice, and his demons. They'll come inside and they'll tell you this is hopeless. This is who you are. You always be like this. You're the worst. That's the second. The third voice is ourselves, and it's our feelings. And we get to choose what we come into agreement with. And sometimes we agree with the demonic voices and the symptoms and say, yeah, maybe I do only have 2 months left. Maybe this is the end. And the fourth voice is the world, the influence around us. That's the media, the environment, our surroundings. Very important who you surround yourself with. But they will also tell you, and it can be positive or negative. They can either tell you, let's start planning your funeral, or you're a child of God and you're going to conquer this because he bore all our infirmities on the cross, and by his stripes we were healed. And then there's the final voice, which we tend to bury, but it's the only truth and it's the most important, and that is God and his Holy Spirit and his conviction and his word. And what he says about us, that's what matters. And if he gives us the word of deliverance, it doesn't matter what the symptoms, what the doctor, what the devil, it doesn't matter. We just claim that and we believe that. And that's a big faith exercise, because all of us have stuff in our lives where we hear all these different voices, but we also have heard what God has told us. We keep trying to hold on to all these different voices. So we all need to establish who is king. And if that is God, we must believe what he says, and that's all that matters. And all the other voices get shut out.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I've talked to people. You know, I've had friends and acquaintances that have are cancer survivors, and they all say, at least the good doctors that attend to them always say that attitude is such a major part of beating that. And it goes back to what you're saying. Don't listen to that dark voice that's telling you give up, give the fight, you know, fight, and understand and know that, you know, there's power that works through you that can overcome this. And a lot of people will tell you that they got a death sentence on an illness, especially something like cancer. And then miraculously the doctors shake their heads and go, I don't know what happened, but you know, you're cancer free. You know, I've heard stories like that. I don't know how many times. So it's amazing. But do we have, we've got another guest coming in here in a minute. I don't know if she's not sitting backstage.
She's been sitting backstage patiently waiting her arrival here. And I can't wait to see. Yeah.
Let me preface this real quick. So Kurt, it was just a few weeks ago, maybe the last time I was in Clarksville, and you and I were talking about branching into specifically Christian music and starting kind of a division of that, you know, and not to, and you know, most of our artists are, well, all of our artists, as far as I know, are believers, and some like to really use their music as a ministry. This particular person that's sitting backstage has a whole album, and it is called, and I just had it up here just a second ago. She released an album. Let me put my glasses on here. I should have been better prepared. This was back in 2021, and the name of her album is You Are Engraved on the Palms of My Hands. And it's all inspirational and Christian-based music. And so I thought of, when I heard about you, CC, and Kurt told me about you, I thought of our other guest who's coming in here, Cathy Jewell, and what a you know, somebody I've always admired, her walk and her faith and the music that she's put out so far. And she just is releasing a new album, just released a new song, and we're actually going to look at her video. But Cathy, welcome.
Hi. I'm telling you what, I've been to church today, and here, you are just such a lovely person inside and out, and you have definitely an angelic voice. I love your song.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. You know what? I want to thank you because I've got my beautiful little granddaughter. Can you say hi? Can you see her?
Hi.
That's my namesake. She's 9 years old. Her name is Grayson Jewell. And she actually loves to sing, and she's hanging out with her Gammy today, me. And so she loves the Lord, and so
awesome.
We really enjoyed your song as well.
Wonderful.
I just the last album that I produced was with Cathy. She was here.
Yeah, the name song that's so familiar.
Yeah, she and I wrote. How many songs did we write on that album together? 8 or 9, right?
We wrote 8 songs, and we did it in not very long. And boy, I tell you what, writing with Kurt is an honor. It's a privilege.
Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you. It was fun. We got some great music, and
he's brilliant.
she's got a great song out there right now. It's on fire.
Absolutely.
Well, we couldn't ask for a better mix between you and CC, Cathy, because like I was saying, I've loved what you've done, especially your album. The Engraved album is just amazing, and I know you've gotten a lot of great response from that album, and it's gets a lot of play, and as it should, because that's your ministry, right?
Oh yes, I love the Lord with all my heart. I couldn't make it without him.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
I don't think any of us would be here without him, would we?
That's true.
Well, Cathy just released a new song, which Steve was referencing here a moment ago, A Heart of Gold. Cathy, tell us about this one.
It is, I believe it's the first song that Kurt and I sat down and wrote together, isn't it, Kurt?
It is. It is, and I don't know where we came up with this idea, because it's really kind of funny. Every time I hear the song, I start laughing. Is that about a guy that you know, her mama always told her to marry a rich man because she always had an eye for things that shine, and she ended up getting married a guy that didn't have a dime. And so it's just a funny song, but it's really cool, and it's doing great.
Now that's not about rock, is it? That's not about.
Maybe when he's younger, but you know, I mean, he's definitely a millionaire, but you know, he can take me out a nice night on the town.
No, yeah.
But it's a cool.
We love.
I really like. Got a lot of positive.
We love rock, and he's a good sport for sure. And you know, Kurt and I laugh a lot about that first time he came in the studio and met all of us. He thought Kurt and I he's like wondering if do I dare leave Cathy with these two guys? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Steve and I can be pretty sick sometimes of it, but. My wife ended up just loving Rock because he just went around the house fixing stuff that was broken, and so she's like, "When's Rock and Cathy coming back?" Not Cathy and Rock. But it was great, man, and I loved him. He was fun to be around.
I love it. Well, we've got the video queued up here. We're going to share this one with everybody now. This is A Heart of Gold.
She knew I had an eye for things that shine. The man I fell in love with had a 14-karat smile, but I found out he didn't have a dime. He gives me everything I've ever wanted. Shower me with love when I'm old. We'll never own a yacht or buy a mansion on the hill, but my baby sure got a heart of gold.
What a fun video and a great song, Cathy.
You know, I mixed that steel guitar up there because that's me playing on that thing, and I liked it. I had to give myself a plug.
That was you
Steve's
playing?
not going to give me any plugs.
That was you playing the steel?
Yes, and I knew you wasn't going to. I knew you wasn't going to give me any compliments, so I had to compliment myself, Steve.
Well, I didn't realize that was you playing the steel guitar. So
yeah, it is. Actually, it's the only song on the album I played on. I think Tommy White played on all the other cuts.
There's Cathy.
Well, we lost her audio here. I was trying to get her audio back.
Going, Cathy, we can't hear you when you speak. Not sure why.
Yeah. That video turned out very well too. That's a new videographer that we've got that's out of the Lubbock area, I believe. So,
we got a videographer coming in. By the way, Lucas Siliberti was in here yesterday. A great artist that I worked with, have done a lot of stuff on, and he's going to come out to the Josie's. He's out doing tours with artists like 50 Cent. He's doing the rap tours. He goes out with some big, huge rock bands, and he does sound and lighting and video. So he's going to come to the Grand Ole Opry and do a lot of photos and videos with us at the Josie Awards. So I'm looking forward to you guys meeting Lucas. He's a very interesting guy.
Was he the guy that did the green Springfield song?
Yes. Same guy.
That's amazing. So he's a talented singer too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's touring with some of the biggest acts in the world.
Well, I'm sorry that we lost Cathy Jewell, but what a great song, great production, Kurt. And I've had the privilege of listening to her entire album, kind of a sneak peek that you let me in on, and man, we were just barely scratching the surface, and that song's great. But there's some other, And the cool thing about I've followed Cathy since I broke into the music business, 3 or 4 years ago, and she was one of the first people I met, and always looked up to her. And but when she got with you and you started working with her, and you do what you do, like you did with me, helped me find parts of my vocal range that I didn't even know I had. It certainly really brought out some really great stuff in Cathy, and it's going to shine through all these songs. That song that we just heard is fantastic, but I can't wait to unleash some of this other music that she's got on this album to the world as well. There's so much there. So
I got a text message, Cathy, from a guy we all know, a country singer named Lonnie Spiker. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what he was doing, but he sent me a message and he said, "I don't know what you did with Cathy Jewell, but I never heard her sing like that." And I said, "I didn't do anything. I just put her in the front of the microphone, let her sing. She's just great, But
he didn't beat you too hard, did he?
I don't know. Was I too hard on you, Cathy? What do you think?
No, not at all.
No. Well, CC got a little taste of this. She hit notes that she didn't think she was going to be hitting too. In fact, she hit we pretty much took her to the sky.
He tried to take me to heaven. There's a line there that talks about your will be done on earth in heaven, and he wanted me to sing it so sky high.
And she did it, and it was perfect.
Like, take us to heaven. Oh man, that was
I do want to say of all the artists that I've written with, and I try to write with all of the artists, I think Cathy and I landed on some stuff that's never been done before. And, there's a really cool song on her album, and I don't want to give away too much of it, but I just want to tell you, we were talking about a girl driving down the interstate one night, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Her battery went dead in her car. Her cell phone stopped working, and she was like out in the middle of nowhere, didn't know what she was doing. Actually, she was between Memphis and Nashville at a little town called Camden. And in the song, we wrote this. A woman pulls up in a Cadillac and gives her a ride into Nashville, and it ended up being the ghost of Patsy Cline. What a great song that thing turned out to be. And we just had some fun, didn't we, Cathy? We wrote some really good stuff. I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I had a blast.
And of course, Cathy, the proprietor of the great KSSL FM in the Lubbock, Texas area, but really kind of growing into this role as an artist. Where do you see all of this going for you, Cathy?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, just making sure. Well, I really don't know. I'm just trusting God that, you know, where he wants me to go, I'm going to go. But I do know that where Clarksville Creative Sound seems to be going is in a big, big direction. And that excites me very much for all the artists on the label. And, you know, the music business, it's a business. It's a hard business. And I've been in it a long time. And, you know, I've worked really hard. And, you know, there's good sides of it and bad sides of it, but I have a feeling that I'm going to see a lot more of the good side of it with Clarksville Creative Sound.
Absolutely. Well, when you hear the sound of this single that we just played here, and you hear the rich layers and the great talent that played on this thing, it seems like it's taking your game to a whole other level.
Oh, no doubt about it. You know, when you surround yourself with people that know more than you know, which doesn't take much really for me with music. I mean, I say that, but really, I had never done any collaboration on songwriting before. So, of course, I was in my own little bubble, and I needed what we got, and I needed some help. And for the first person that you know worked with me on the songwriting to be Kurt Ryle, I'm very, very grateful. Very grateful.
And now that you've gotten into that groove, how much more does that drive you to want to do more with it?
Oh yes, I've gotten my passion back for the music, and I'm very excited to really get back into music and see where it takes us. And I know it's going to be to some really good places, and I know y'all got some big things that y'all are working on right now too.
And I know, Kurt, you're up for that.
Oh, absolutely. I missed what you said though, Brent. What was your question?
Well, I was just asking, you know, that now that she's kind of in her groove and feeling comfortable writing and seeing what came out of the process the last go around, how much more does that drive you to want to get back in the trenches and keep building on what's there already?
Well, once you go through the process like Cathy and I did, and I did, of course, I do this with all the artists. I write with all of them, but after the first time, it just keeps getting better because you're more comfortable with each other. Right. And Cathy and I really kind of we locked really quick. I think our personalities are similar. We're not as sick as Steve, and that's a good thing. And so we were able to write some stuff that, you know, we had some fun. And I think next time we'll even write better songs.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm a work in progress.
Couldn't resist.
I'm a work in progress. You know, that's why God brought me into your life, Kurt. You needed some adult supervision, and then again, that's like Ray Charles driving Stevie Wonder around. So anyway,
so true.
Well, I think it's so cool, you know, and who knows where this is going to go, you know, and we like to think that we've got some great things. We know we've got some great things in the works here, exciting things potentially. And I put a big emphasis on potential because, you know, this is going to go wherever God wants it to go. And so, you know, and that's one of the things I like about my relationship with you, Kurt. You and I are like-minded. You know, Cathy, I've known you for a while, and I know where your heart is as far as the Lord is concerned. Brent, same thing. And that's what many things I like about this relationship with this American Country Television Network in the business of television. You know, you hear a lot of stories about the heartless, soulless type business, you know, the television, the entertainment business can be. But I'm telling you, a guy like Tommy Snyder, you know, we've talked hours and hours about, you know, remembering, you know, who's really in charge and that God's in charge, and he's, you know, and Tommy's kind of like you, CC, where he, you know, he's told me stories in times of his life where he's heading in one direction, doing all these wonderful things as a financial an analyst or a stockbroker or whatever. And then all of a sudden God told him, this is not for you. And he just, you know, without even thinking about it, gets up and resigns and goes in a different direction, you know. And so that's one of the many things I like about Tommy Snyder, and why Kurt and I were so excited to develop a relationship with him and a partnership of sorts with this TV network. And I think if we follow that and we do the right thing and make sure that God's in the center of all that, then this could be a way to get our music out to a lot of more people than we ever dreamed of.
Yeah, and it's more than just a cable network. I mean, we're talking about having our own YouTube channel where we're not throwing our stuff out there on YouTube and nobody makes any money. You know, there's other things in the works on this thing other than just TV that will benefit our artists immensely. So I'm excited about it, and you know, I tell CC I don't get my hopes up too much, but I really feel like there's a divine hand in this thing, and if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. But everything's just falling into place.
Kurt, you and I have talked about this as we've gone along, and you and I really, when you think about, you know, in the sense of time, we haven't really been together that long, but we've accomplished quite a lot, and we've done a lot of cool things. And one of the things that we have to keep doing, you know, as this thing gets more and more prominent, I guess you could say. And I think we know when we're moving in God's will, because then that spiritual warfare really raises its head.
Yep.
And so
Sure.
we have to constantly. It's kind of like being in a boat on the ocean. You every once in a while you got to stop and scrape the barnacles off the boat to make sure the boat can continue to move efficiently, right? And
That's
so,
right.
in the music business, there are a lot of barnacles.
And we're gonna see roadblocks. We're gonna see. That's what happens. That's what the enemy does, and we're gonna see stuff like that. CC and I we're still seeing that stuff, and I recognize it immediately. I know what it is immediately, and but you know, we just got to keep our nose to the grindstone and keep doing what we're supposed to do. And if this is in God's will, there's not a soul on earth or anything in the world that's going to stop it.
That's right.
Man.
Well, Cathy, I'm going to see you in Houston at the CMA of Texas Awards in a couple of weeks, right?
Her audio is gone again. Your audio's gone again.
Well,
but she's going to be at the Josie Awards too.
Good.
Can't hear you.
No audio, but she will be at the CMA of Texas and the Josie Awards, so we're looking forward to that.
Well, I'm glad she's got it. I wasn't sure whether she was coming to Tennessee or not. We're trying to pull as many people as we can together, so I'm glad to hear that. But Cathy and I were looking forward to spending a little time together down in Houston as well. And then I may be coming straight from Houston straight to Nashville. Who knows? But anyway, I will be there.
Steve, you got a whole new album sitting here. You got to get some vocals done on it. By the way, we got a lot of people in here today, and Terry LeMaster is probably truly our first Christian artist, but he's bluegrass. He's pure bluegrass, but Terry goes back and forth. He's kind of like he does a lot like Cathy. He'll do a country thing and then he'll do a Christian thing. CC's going to be our very first true Christian artist on the label, and that's going to be her genre. And so yeah, there's Terry right there, and we're looking forward to this Christian division, and I think it's going to be.
Tell you what, Terry's song "Sunset Through the Pines," didn't that just hit #1 on one of the indie charts?
It's hit #1 in every chart.
You know, I was in the studio. Remember Kurt when he was laying the vocals down on that, and I heard that song stuck in my head. And what I love is the message, and it's, you know, and that's what, you know, I think sometimes. And you made a distinction, CC, earlier about the difference between religion and spirituality. That, you know, religion was created because of man's desperate need to define God, and I've learned that I don't have to define God. I just have to experience Him. I know He's there, and He's shown up in my life anytime I really needed Him. Not a minute too soon, not a minute, you know, on His timing, not mine. And so, it's really, and the message that Jesus taught was so simple. The theology kind of tries to maybe, in some senses, it adds a little confusion to what should be a real simple message. But what I'm getting at is Terry's song breaks it down to a real simple element, and that is you can see God in a sunset through the pine trees. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. You know?
I think Terry has a way of saying things in such a simple way that has such a powerful message. I love Terry's writing. Also, we got Brian Moon in here. with us. Brian is coming in Monday. He's gonna be here Monday, and we're gonna record Brian Friday. He's bringing in the legendary singer Leona Williams is going to come in, and she's was in here not too long ago, 3 or 4 months ago. She's a big star, and we're looking forward to. I want to try to. I just want to get her in here because I love being around her. She's got such a very good, sweet personality. But so she'll be here, and she and Brian are going to do a couple of duets together. So, Brian, looking forward to it.
One other thing I want to mention real quick, somebody that's watching, I hope she's still watching, Paula Youngman. Paula Paula is responsible, kind of shifting gears here. She's solely responsible and worked on this for years. She was the one that got the people in Austin to declare Western Swing the official music of Texas. And that was done 15 years ago or so. We're approaching that anniversary. So we're going to be talking about that. That'll be a center point of the Western Swing Festival in November, which our dear Cathy Jewell will be performing at with the A-list band. I can't wait to get her up there and turn her loose with those A-listers.
In November.
If Kurt, if you'll just hold on to that guitar, don't drop it.
You see that guitar sitting right there? He stole that from me, but I stole one of his. So actually, Steve and I just swapped guitars.
Yeah. So lots to look forward to, but I guess we better kind of wind this down. We're way over our time, but man, I could go on all day, especially when you want to talk about God and what He's done. Certainly in my life. I mean, but it's a fascinating story, CC, and I want to hear more of your story. I can't wait to get to know you better and hear what I know you're going to be doing, working with Kurt. And we just are so thrilled to have you with Clarksville Creative Sound, and just really blessed to have you with us.
So I have to ask a question before we get out of here. Steve, when you saw CC, did the voice that you heard on the phone match the girl?
More than I thought. I wasn't sure what to expect, but you're fairly close to the image I had actually in my head. That's kind of weird.
Because I saw a blonde-haired 16-year-old girl. That's what I saw when I heard her on the phone.
No,
Before.
You have you?
No.
In college.
No, I would have been surprised if a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl would have sat down. I for some reason I had a different, image, and it was pretty close. So I was.
I told you she was pretty, but I wasn't going to give you any more clues. But
no, your beauty of your voice and your beauty period, those two match, and what a ministry you've got to take out there. And like I said, I'm so glad that you decided to use your own voice instead of someone else's to carry your message.
Me too. We're going to do it. She's got more stuff coming. We've already written a song together. So that'll be the next thing we record. And she's going to have some great stuff coming down the pike. So we're excited about it.
We're all behind you 110%. So we'll can't wait to.
For me, it's really an honor to be working with professionals like this, but I was a little confused at first because I'm very amateur about the industry, and I didn't give an answer right away because I was praying about it, that God, this is kind of country. I thought He was going to send me through the Christian industry and the formal. And then I got to know Kurt and his family, and I'm getting to know you all. It's the heart for God, and that's what's really the gem of Clarksville Creative Sound, and that's the secret weapon, and that's what's going to get us through. And it's an honor to be a part.
Don't you love the way God defies convention in the human sense? I mean, we and I think that's one of the ways I define a miracle, is it's something that happens that lies outside of our synthetic knowledge or logic, because we're as human beings, we're very limited, even though our brains are amazing tools, we're so limited when it comes to God's scope of knowledge and ability. And
well, she in the beginning, Christian producer told her, well, you don't need to be over there. You need to be with a Christian producer. You need to be doing, and it's funny because I just told her, I said, it doesn't matter what the music is.
Yeah.
We're going to make it sound right. And then of course I told her about some people I'd worked with in the Christian ministry, Chris Tomlin, Matthew West, and people like that. And so, yeah.
Well, once God gave me the yes, which he did a couple days later, that settled it for me. And he told me, I know what I'm doing. I'm God, and this is your label. And I was like, that settles it. That's it. But then as I got to know the people more, I was like, I understand now. Their heart for the Lord is amazing. And I think that's really the gem with Clarksville Creative. And it's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well,
we're honored.
Can't wait to see how God's going to unfold this story, and I'm honored that we're all a part of it here, because it's phenomenal to see how God's moving. And Cathy, thank you for jumping in and joining us. Make sure everybody gets out. Where all can they get a hold of the new album? No audio.
It messed up again.
I know that the album has not been released in its entirety, but you can get her song. Her song is out there on iTunes, the Heart of Gold song. You can stream that, and I presume it's out there on all the other streaming sites, Cathy, right?
Well, and also, we will be selling these albums soon, I think, off of our Clarksville Creative Sound website. And just really quickly, Clarksville Creative Sound on Facebook, that site has been private for a long time, and a lot of people are complaining about it. So Dina Wood has gone out there and has already started the new site, which looks exactly like the old one, except it'll be public and it won't be private. Supposedly Facebook won't allow you to take a private site and turn it public. You have to just take it down and start over. But all of these albums will be out there very soon for people to buy, and we'll keep everybody posted on that too.
We're getting our act together, Kurt. We are.
We're trying.
I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody's patience, and I appreciate everybody following what we do. I certainly appreciate everybody tuning in, and especially since we had a different time today than we normally go out. We usually do this show at 10 a.m. on Fridays, but we had some things going on, and our fearless leader on this show, Brent, had some personal things to tend to, and my condolences to the loss of your friend, Brent.
Well, I tell you what, it's funny to see how God moves, because it was a guy who really spoke into my life probably more than most as far as his walk with the Lord. And I watched him grow in his walk with the Lord, and he was a big influence in my life. And today was a celebration of his life and how he lived it. Even in the face of adversity, he was always putting others first and finding ways to minister to others through his trials and tribulations. So to sit there and kind of take inventory of that today was, it was a God thing. And then to come here and carry on that conversation moving forward was a God thing. So to see how God has moved in this day, that's pretty special. It's pretty special. So
that just goes to show you these mortal bodies of ours may decay and crumble, but the spirit lives, and that's kind of one of the messages in CC's song, that Jesus lives, and so he lives through us, and
right.
We're conduits. It's our job to carry that, be a conduit and be as my Native American friends say, a hollow bone. We can't hold on to it. We can't keep what we have unless we give it away.
Right. Well, to kind of mention something that she said, there was a song that was played today, and kind of the theme of that song was too, if you lost everything else around you, and if it was just you in a relationship with Jesus, that's all you need. It's everything. So to encourage anybody who doesn't have that relationship yet, man. It'd be a good time to start looking inward and start asking questions and exploring. So that's my soapbox for today.
I also want to mention one thing. Speaking of Cathy Jewell, the album I talked about earlier, You're Engraved in the Palm of My Hands, that was not produced at Clarksville Creative Sound, but it's an album that I strongly suggest you get a hold of. There's some great songs on there, and a lot of those were written by you, Cathy, right? Good.
That's a yes
so,
from her.
so get a hold of that. CC, you should check that out as well. So you get to know fellow Clarksville Creative Sound artists better through her music. And then, of course, Kurt can share some of the new stuff we've done with Cathy as well. But anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of great things happening. So, Brent, take us on out, I guess.
We will be back again next Friday, God willing, 10 a.m. Central. We'll be back on the normal time. We'll let you know next week what we've got for guests here. We got a lot of big things coming up in the next few weeks. Again, we'll be headed to Houston, Texas, and to Nashville, Tennessee, and be a lot going on there. So make sure you plugged into those socials, the new Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group, the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group, and the Rural Strong Media Facebook page, so you don't miss a minute of what we've got going on here. It's going to be coming at you fast between now and the end of the year and early into next year, so make sure you plugged in there. Also invite you to come along with us on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com, on the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're playing agriculture programming as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. And as we always tell you every week, 2 great shows kicking off your Sundays to get plugged in and fill your soul. We start out at 9 a.m. Central with Sunday's Kind of Country with my friend Robbie Lynn, coming to you straight out of Vidor, Texas. He's got almost 3 hours of great inspirational country music. Then I come in with about a 15-minute short.
You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production.
And then I'll hit the button and we'll try to get out of here. But otherwise, then we get Billy Bowles, our friend who emanates out of KSSL FM, Cathy's studio. We get the second run of that show on Sundays at noon Central, and again on Tuesdays at 7 Central. That's PM. So make sure you go check that out. If you missed the first run, I certainly encourage you to catch the first run on KSSL. Check that out. They stream live. Go to their website and check them out. And I just love the partnership between Cathy and Billy Bowles. Just great human beings trying to advance the music and also trying to advance the kingdom. So make sure you go check them out. And we'll be back again, as I said, next Friday, 10 a.m. Central for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Again, for Steve Marquardt, for Kurt Ryle, for CC, and for Cathy Jewell. It's Brent Adams. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week, next Friday, 10 a.m. Central for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Till then, keep riding tall in the saddle and make it a great week, everybody.
You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.